Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Friday forecast. It's debut. It's debut. That's hard to say. But it is its debut. It is Friday, and the Premier League is just around the corner. As in, I don't know how many hours away, but we're getting there. Thank God. After the shortest pre-season we've ever had, and listen, the football's back. We can forget about transfers for a bit, and we can just watch people kicking the ball around and argue about loads of stuff. And this show, for people that don't know or don't keep up with what we're doing, will be on every Friday night. It will be me and Keith for the vast majority. Harry is going to try join us from Chronicles of a Gooner as much as he possibly can, unless he gets a better offer. And then we will have a fan of a club, hopefully, that's playing Liverpool that weekend. The turn this week, of course, is Leeds, and it's Joe Wainman from All Leeds TV. Joe, man, how are you?
Oh, great, man! I want me one of them intros. There, I was enjoying that. To be fair, I need to get me one of them. But yeah,
we know a guy. We know a guy.
Yeah, we can fix you up.
Yeah, good times. But no, I'm absolutely buzzing, boys. I can't wait for the season to start. Like you say, it's been 16 long years, and the fact we've got the Premier League champions to come as well is absolutely class.
It's been 16 years. I couldn't believe that the other day. But Joe, like, without going into massive detail and you know, picking apart Leeds over the last 16 years, but you've seen so much from Leeds, you know, like from the days of Ridsdale's, O'Leary, you know, it all goes pear-shaped, and you end up in League One for a period. Owners issues, players issues, manager issues. You were throwing them out the door and bringing them in as quick at certain stages under that madman that was the owner for a little while. But it must be, and I look, I'm not going to pretend to be a massive fan of Leeds. I'm not, you know what I mean? But I respect the size of the club. I respect the history they have, and you know, the support they have is colossal. It is absolutely massive, isn't it, for a club to finally get that monkey off their back, where they're in the Premier League now, and look to go forward and make themselves a mainstay in the Premier League yet again.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, we've been riddled with just bad ownership, poor manager after poor manager, just total mismanagement. And we're so lucky now that Radrazani came in and secured the signing of Bielsa, you know, and that man is God now to Leeds fans. He literally is the Messiah. These bloody murals going up round Leeds as we speak, on the side of buildings and all sorts. It really is that big for Leeds United, and it's just awesome to be back. I was even watching like the preview shows and today, and it's just nice to see us get a little bit more attention as well. You know what I mean? Now that we're back in the Premiership, it's just a totally different animal to lower league football, and it's amazing to be back. Can't wait.
Yeah, it really is, and it's some story. You know, you're seeing, you know, like we won a league title, and it had to be behind closed doors, and Leeds won one. Of course, last season, and I had to be behind closed doors. And if it's two set of supporters you would have liked to see be in a ground when something like that is secured, it was Liverpool and Leeds would be right up there. But it's the way it goes, and you know, at the end of the day, they're starting in the Premier League tomorrow against Liverpool at 5:30. So it's a massive thing. Harry from the Chronicles of a Gooner, which is a brilliant name for a podcast, let's be honest. Harry, before we get into all the fixtures and stuff like that, are you nice and confident? Are you looking towards the season and looking up the table as opposed to where you were sitting last season? And please tell me Arsenal are going to be good, because they're in my last man standing. They're my first pick tomorrow.
Yeah, of course. I mean, sort of the signs that we saw at the back end of last season very much suggest that Arsenal are in the ascendancy. You know, you're looking at, you know, a squad that is sort of a little bit imbalanced still. We're obviously trying to make additions to that side. We've got a few players in the door so far. I expect there to be more as well. I also expect there to be a few departures as well. So Arsenal are very much going through a makeover at the moment. And I think when you look at the sort of aura that Mikel Arteta carries around with him, and the way he talks, and the way his tactics have seen us close the gap in quality on a number of sides that have been better than us. For example, yourselves. I mean, you know, we got that win at the Emirates. I know it was the Community Shield. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's a trophy, but, you know, it was an encouraging performance from Arsenal again. So there are signs that it's going to be a better season. Whether we'll make the top four or not remains to be seen. I still think it's going to be a tall order. But, yeah, we're going into the season feeling great. And you know, you mentioned tomorrow's game against Fulham. It's a little bit difficult to predict that one because, you know, there are so many players missing. We know that we've got injury issues at the back. So it'll be interesting to see how he patches up the team and stuff. But yeah, in answer to your original question, you've got to be feeling good as an Arsenal fan at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Keith, a little bit on Leeds. We go back to Leeds, and you know, you're a man who likes his football knowledge, his stats, his history and stuff like that. Isn't it great? I've said it. You know, I'm not Leeds' biggest fan, but I do respect where they come from, and they're a huge club. But it's much better than having the likes of Wigan and all, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it goes without saying. I mean, I agree. Leeds are a huge club. They're one of the biggest. They're one of the biggest supported in Ireland as well. After Liverpool, Man United.
Yeah, they're huge in Ireland.
Leeds following over here, and we all know people who follow Leeds. And they are a great club, and you know they hate Man U, so my enemy's enemy is my friend, and all that sort of thing, you know. So that'll do for us. But no, seriously, they're a huge club. I've a lot of time for them. And in Marcelo Bielsa, I actually think Joe is underselling this fella. I think he's one of the greatest football managers of all time. I think he's one of the most innovative and inspirational managers in football history, never mind in England. Like, this fella is an absolute... Joe says he's a god around Leeds. This fella should be a god everywhere. This fella has a stadium named after him in the Old Boys, and he managed them for 3 seasons, got them to the final of the Copa Libertadores and left them, play 25 games for them before having to retire early, and they have a stadium named after him. Anyone who plays under Bielsa would... We think people run through walls for Klopp. People do that for Bielsa. Yeah. He inspires everybody. I'm an absolutely huge fan of Bielsa.
Yeah, I know you do love your South American stuff as well. So Bielsa, I'd say Leeds will be our second team this season. I'm going to be honest with you. And look, when he's going around Spine and Derby County and all, like, that was just amazing. When I seen that on Sky Sports, it was like, what? Yeah. Bielsa's in a bush watching Frank Lampard's Derby training. It was amazing.
The best thing about that was when he done a press conference and they all thought he was coming on to apologise, and he went about an hour and a half going through a dossier of everything that he was spying on.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. It was like he was gone to the FBI. He was turning rat, wasn't he? It was unbelievable, and like, he just didn't give a shit, you know. But the biggest and before we go on, like, I talk Bielsa for ages, but the one where they're playing Villa and the player goes down injured and Leeds go on and score, and Bielsa is going rasher on the sideline. He's going fucking mad, you know. And he sits on that, doesn't he? Sit on the drinks box or a little stool all the time, and he's going berserk. And I thought, at first viewing, he's saying, no, don't give the goal, but he was giving out, and it was Pontus Jansson, am I right, who tried to stop the goal, and he was going fucking crazy. But it just shows the level of the man, where he went, listen, the guy was down injured, we should have stopped playing, we didn't give them a goal, you know. But I think he's going to be great value, absolutely great value this season. And I think people are asking there, can they play the same way as they played in the Championship? I'd like to see them have a go. And
he will.
I think they will, because I think he has a way. Now, don't get me wrong, I gave Norwich a terrible time last season because Norwich come up and were so naive in what they done. But I think the way Leeds play, Norwich were pretty, Leeds are intense, and I think that might be the difference. If they can keep that intensity up, I think they go a lot further than Norwich did. They were so naive, Norwich, in what they were trying to do. But listen, we'll get on to Leeds and Liverpool, and we'll touch on Arsenal later on. If you're in the chat, please hit the like button, please share it. We've done a tweet onto our timeline on Twitter. We've tagged all the lads, so if you want to follow them, absolutely do that as well. But of course, like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. And this show will be with you every Friday, talking everything we can on the Premier League. The first fixture I'm going to start on, though, lads, is Spurs against Everton. And, you know, I was trying to think today, what have Spurs done in the market? And all I could think was Matt Doherty. I think there's probably more in there. Højbjerg. Yeah, they've done Højbjerg as well. And Matt Doherty. Two decent signing for Spurs. Of course, Everton have won the transfer window yet again, and they've also won the Instagram trophy, because James Rodriguez had more Instagram followers than anybody, including God. So when you look at James Rodriguez, you look at Alan, you look at Decore, isn't it?
Did they get him in Decore?
Yeah, they've got him in as well. I think they're 3 really good signings. A lot of people are a bit iffy on James Rodriguez simply because of, I don't know, his output over the last couple of seasons. But Joe, I'll come to you first. Spurs against Everton, hard to pick on the opening day of the season, but when you look at the way Spurs struggled last season, despite that, Mourinho had them in top 4 form, believe it or not. When he came in till the end of the season, they've added Doherty, they've added Højbjerg. Do you see Spurs doing anything this season? And could Everton, with those signings, become, come out of that just no man's land they're living in and try move up the table and challenge at least for a UEFA Cup spot?
I honestly, it could go either way with both sides, if I'm being totally honest. I mean, they've both got great managers, and like you say, I really like Everton's business that they've done. I really like Alan that they've brought in from Napoli. But again, I mean, Mourinho's a serial winner, isn't he? I've just finished watching the Spurs documentary, to be fair, and it's a decent watch. I've enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, could they get into top 4 Tottenham? No, I don't think so. Maybe again with Everton, I genuinely don't know. I was doing my predictions, and they could literally end up anywhere within that top 10. You know what I mean? They could have a barnstormer and push for Europa League, like you say. But I guess the jury's out. We'll have to wait and see.
We will have to wait and see, and I listen to a great Liverpool/Everton podcast called Across the Park. If any Liverpool fans are out there or Everton fans watching, it's really good to listen to. It's 6 lads, 3 Everton, 3 Liverpool, and they have a chat every week. And Everton were crying out last season for midfielders, and a bit of quality when they looked to create, and they look like they're trying to fill that gap. Now, when you have a fella in goal that has really small arms, it doesn't help as the season goes on. But they may try rectify that before the window closes. With a bit of luck, they don't. But Harry, when you look at these, because Ancelotti is in at Everton, okay. Mourinho's probably in the same stages as, say, Arteta is at Arsenal. We're trying to change stuff at Spurs. You have Ancelotti, who's had a full season-ish. Hasn't he had a close to a full season?
No, he came in at the same time as Arteta. They were a day apart.
That's right, yeah.
Ancelotti feels like Ancelotti.
Arteta was linked with Everton, and Ancelotti was linked with Arsenal.
That's right. So they're on the same kind of path. Then you have Mourinho, who wouldn't be far off them as well. Harry, when you look at what Everton have done in the summer, and when you look at what Spurs have done in the summer, can you see improvement in them, or do you think they've made some signings? We'll have to wait and see. It could be much of a muchness.
I think when you look at Everton's signings, they certainly jump out off the page a little bit more than Spurs' ones. They certainly look to be more positive. The thing is, though, the argument would be that Spurs' squad was stronger in the first place. So did they need that level of improvement, as much improvement as Everton did? Probably not. But I mean, with Everton, the thing is, Carlo Ancelotti, let's be honest, he's probably I would say he's in the top 5 managers that I've seen in my lifetime. He's that good. This is a massive project at Everton, and as much as people sort of poke fun at them and have poked fun at them over the last few years about, maybe them signing players and it never really come into sort of fruition, the fact that they've managed to, first of all, attract Carlo Ancelotti, and now the likes of James Rodriguez, and, you expect there to be more, shows you that they mean business. Now, there's no guarantee they're going to get success off the back of that, but they're really trying, and you've got to give them credit for that. I expect them to be better than they were last season. I feel like the Premier League's going to be really, really tough this season. And, a lot of people will sit there and make their predictions, and I'm guilty of it too. But, the season before last, for example, you saw Manchester City earn 98 points, and the following season they went off the side of a cliff. So you can't rule anything out in the Premier League. It only takes for a couple of the so-called big boys to not be at the races, and somebody like Everton could steal in. Going back to Spurs, look, I'm not Jose Mourinho's biggest fan. I accept that at one time he was maybe the best, if not one of the best. I feel like in time his methods have gone stale. He's out of date. I don't know if anyone's seen the All or Nothing documentary, but it very much feels like an act from Jose Mourinho to try and rebrand himself and recreate himself. It doesn't wash with me. Mourinho's a dinosaur. His tactics are out of date. And you look at the players that he's brought in. Yeah, Højbjerg's a decent enough player, but is he the type of player that's going to propel you onto the Champions League? I don't think so. Joe Hart on a free transfer in goal. The only thing he's got going for him nowadays is dandruff. And then you've got, and then the other one, Matt Doherty. Yeah, he's all right. He's a bit of an upgrade on Serge Aurier. But again, it just feels like Spurs' business is plugging holes rather than pushing on. And that's something Arsenal have been doing over the years, and it's been really frustrating, bringing in players because we thought they could plug a gap, fill a hole for a short period of time. But are they actually improving significantly with those players? I don't think so. I would be more excited right now if I was an Everton fan.
Okay. Danny says, can you please get off the fence and tell us how you really feel about Jose? But listen, they're very, very fair points. You know, Højbjerg and Doherty, I find them very workmanlike, and I think that's what Jose Mourinho is looking for. Yeah. You know, I think Winks can be pretty on the eye, but I don't think he works hard enough. He may work very hard, but I don't think he's effective in it. You know, whereas I think Højbjerg gets around the pitch a bit better. He's a bit more physical. I think there's more to his game. That's just him against, say, Harry Winks. You know, they have the other guy who just runs around in circles in the midfield, the French fella that is no good. Yeah. I can't remember his name. There's loads of Sissokos, but he just seems to run around in the inside right channel for 80, 90 minutes and comes off and does it again the following week. So I think Højbjerg's decent. Doherty is definitely an upgrade on Højbjerg, and I think what you're looking for, what you'll find with Spurs with Doherty is he gets forward very well, he delivers a very good ball, and he'll be targeting Harry Kane 9 times out of 10. I think that's what you may be looking for. Keith, Spurs and Everton, what are you looking for from them this season?
Well, I think Spurs could gatecrash the top 4 this season. I have a sneaky feeling that they might get in there ahead of Man United. Because I just think Mourinho, while I agree with Harry, he is a bit of a busted flush and a bit of a dinosaur. He did do well last season there, and I think Doherty's a great signing for them for the way he's going to play and for what he's going to do. I think he's an excellent signing. I think Steven Bergwijn is going to be an excellent player for them this year. He settled in slowly last year, got a few important goals. He looks a good player, and I think Højbjerg is going to be a workman-like midfielder for them, as you said. I genuinely think they could be a threat if they keep Kane fit. Everton, I think, I'm not calling Carlo Ancelotti a mercenary, but for him to take a job like Everton after being a serial, at least challenger at every club he's been at, to go to the Premier League to Everton at his age, to me, is just a money grab for him. And I think the players that he's signing, James Rodriguez hasn't been a decent player since 2014 when he moved to Real Madrid. That might sound a bit harsh, but his peak was sort of when he was with Porto, when he went to Monaco and then moved to Real, and he never fulfilled that potential since then. That's 2 World Cups ago. You know, it's not 1 World Cup, it's 2 World Cups ago. So I think that's another, you know, the Everton fans are dining out on the name of James Rodriguez. He's a decent player on his day. He could be one of them, you know, foreign lads come to the Premier League and just realise that a lot of the English players are a bit geek and gets a lot of space and looks decent. He could be one of them. But I just think it's a money grab. I think Alan's a good signing for them. I think the Torres is a good signing for them. And they will make them a harder, tougher team to beat. But I think out of the 2 of them, Spurs are the better placed. And I think Spurs, like I said, could challenge top 4. Everton will challenge the top 10.
Okay. It's always hard to predict stuff on the opening day of the season. I can get my excuses in early for our last man standing. But Joe, I'll come to you first. Give me a prediction for Spurs v Everton, please.
I think Everton might nick it 2-1.
2-1 Everton, nice. A big away win for Everton straight off the bat. All the Merseyside will be delighted with that, I'm sure. Harry, where are you going with this, Spurs v Everton?
I'm going with a 1-1 draw. 2 really tactical managers. 2 managers that will be desperate not to lose their first games of the season. I think it'll be a cagey affair. And so, yeah, 1-1.
Okay. Keith, for you?
3-1 Spurs.
3-1 Spurs. I'm of the same thinking as Keith. I think Everton, they've brought some players. They've only got them in, and I don't know if they'll even play at the weekend. But if they do, you're looking at nearly a whole midfield being put together for this game. So I'm going to go with 3-1 Spurs as well. But you never know. It's the opening day of the season. Anything can happen. And of course, the grounds are empty. So it levels the playing field quite a bit. Stephen Mack has 3-2 Spurs. Rajiv says 2-1 to Spurs. Let me see. Is there anybody else? There's a couple more in there. But that's Spurs v Everton. Gonna go over a couple really quickly. Sheffield United against Wolves. Sheffield United, of course, had a brilliant season up until the COVID took over, and then they fell off a cliff, which was, listen, that happens. But they were in a brilliant position for European football and just missed out at the end of last season. Harry, I'll come to you first. Sheffield United against Wolves. Wolves were right in the mix as well. They were nearly neck and neck when the whole football stopped, and when they came back, Wolves kind of fell away, and so did Sheffield United. What will they be looking for this season, both these teams?
I think for Sheffield United, I think it's going to be more difficult to replicate the success that they had last season. So I think for Sheffield United, I know this probably sounds a little bit harsh, but I feel like if they stay sort of around the mid-table area, that would be a positive season for them. Often the second season is very, very difficult. So, you know, that's what I think Sheffield United will be looking for. As for Wolves, you know, they just keep going about their business, and I'm a massive fan of Nuno Espirito Santo. I love the way his teams play football. I love the system he uses. I love the organisation. They've obviously got some really strong links with the Portuguese market as well. You know, the Mendes link and all of that allows them to sort of get a steal in the transfer market time and time again for these players, and they've done some business again this summer, and they're expected to do more, where they're kind of raiding some of the biggest Portuguese clubs for some of their biggest talents. So I expect Wolves to be, you know, in the top 10, definitely. Maybe they can push on top 8. Who knows? But yeah, I think Wolves' ambitions will probably be slightly higher than Sheffield United's. And I think that's right, and that's fair.
What's your prediction for that
one? I'm going to go with a draw again. I'm just going to play it safe because, as you said, it's so tough on the opening day of the season, isn't it? Both managers have got very settled systems. I think they both would have studied each other really closely, and both will probably know how to cancel each other out. So I'm going to go for a 0-0 on that one.
Okay. Joe, just on Sheffield United, when you look at the way they came up, of course, another Yorkshire club, but they come up, they take the place by storm nearly. You know, the size of their squad probably doesn't help them towards the end of the season, but I think they finish about 9th when all things are said and done. Is that something that Leeds could look towards this season and try, not copy, but look and go, listen, that's what Sheffield United done. We feel we're as good as those coming up, and we should be targeting somewhere around that part of the league, because we spoke before we come on and you said to me, I think we could probably push into the top half.
Yeah, 100%. I think even the club themselves have said they want to follow that model, a similar sort of model. I, as a fan, look at Wolves and Sheffield United and believe that we can follow, you know, that same trajectory, genuinely, that they have, especially Wolves over the next couple of seasons if we make the right investment. But massive fan of both managers, massive fan of Chris Wilder. I know there's the Yorkshire thing, but I do respect Sheffield United. I love that he went up and just continued to play his way with them overlapping centre-backs, and they went about it the right way and got results. Do you know what I mean? So for me, you know, Bielsa will do exactly the same, you know, stick to his principles, we'll have a go. And, hopefully we can, you know, follow that same path that they have. I know the club said we're going to make... get signings in, follow that Sheffield United model, cream in the crop of the Championship. We haven't quite done that. We've gone and got, you know, Spain's number 9. Do you know what I mean? If anything, we've gone a little bit better. But, yeah, great model to follow, and I think we'll be in that top half like they have, yeah.
So when it comes down to Sheffield United against Wolves, what way do you see this one going?
I think Sheffield United might nick it at Bramall Lane, if I'm honest. 1-0. We'll go 1-0.
Okay. Keith, what are you having on this one?
I agree with what the lads sort of said. I think Nuno and Chris Wilder are great managers. They've come in and they've both overachieved with maybe not with the sums of the parts, because Wolves have an excellent squad, and they get the cream, the pick of George Mendes's players, and this new striker they have, Fabio Silva, looks the real deal. But I think this one's going to be a 1-1 draw, because I think Sheffield United lack a serious goal scorer. If they had a goal scorer, I think they'd cause problems. I think they would be up there at Wolves' level. But I think they lack a goal scorer. But saying that, I think 1-1, because it's at Bramall Lane, I think a 1-1 draw.
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with a Wolves win. I'm not gonna say 3-1 because somebody's just accused me of betting 3-1 on anything once every time I'm walking past the bookies. I must say 3-1 a lot. I don't realise that, but I'm gonna go with a 2-1 win to Wolves. I'm gonna agree with Keane Ryan and go with 2-1 win to Wolves.
3-1 is good, Gav, because it's a spanking, but it's respectful because you're giving them a goal as well. So that's why it's a nice.
Yeah, but let them scrap and call it. I'll go with 2-1 Wolves. Moving on to the next one, and Keith, I'll stay with you. It's a newly promoted side. It's West Brom, and it's the biggest bottle job seen in a long time. Brendan Rodgers and his mates at Leicester. Absolutely disgraceful in the second half of last season. 23 points in 19 games, and he was up for manager of the year. So there you go. But listen, West Brom are back in the Premier League. I haven't seen an awful lot of West Brom in the Championship. I'm going to ask Joe what they were like in a couple of minutes, and I haven't really seen what their transfer business has been like. Leicester, of course, have let go Ben Chilwell, who would be one of their better players. What are these two teams looking for this season?
This would be the sort of game when it comes on match of the day, I'll go in to make a cup of tea or something. You know what I mean? This one doesn't excite me at all. Leicester, I'm with you in this camp, Gav. We've said it before. I think Brendan Rodgers, they bottled that last season. How they slid like they did. And we've seen this film before with Rodgers, you know what I mean? He doesn't have the mentality to get them over the line when the pressure comes on. And I think it's an interesting season for him, for Leicester. They lost Chilwell, and they brought in a Belgian right back, I think, Castagne off Belgian lad. Did they get him off Atalanta?
Atalanta,
but I think he's a right back. Someone correct me and tell me I'm wrong, but I don't think have they done too much else. I can't think of anything else.
No, nothing jumps out at me, no.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the same team. I know they're linked with a lot of players, but it's one that's not really exciting me. West Brom got Callum Robinson there off Sheffield United. Again, Jesus, that one's not going to really instill any fear into anyone. I think their main player is your man Mateus Pereira. Joe will probably know more from being in the Championship in the promotion battle there. But then the two teams, well, look, Leicester being a bit harsh on maybe they're a good team, but this one, I'm going to go for a 2-0 Leicester win, but that's not giving Leicester any credit because I do think they bottled. I think they were garbage in the second half of the season, but they could turn it on against West Brom. 2-0 to Leicester.
Okay, Joe, West Brom, you were in the Championship with them last season. It looked like it was a ding dong battle up until the last couple of games as to who would win the league and go up. What are they like, and what can we expect from them?
Yeah, I mean, like Keith mentioned, they have got some decent individuals. You know, Mateus Pereira. Honestly, you don't sleep on him. He will impress a few in the Premier League. I don't think West Brom will have enough, if I'm being totally honest. I think they've brought in Branislav Ivanovic, haven't they, in the last 24 hours.
Well,
you know, that's apparently that's going to be a deal done. Grady Dean Garner, they got him from West Ham. Very good player. I know Mark Noble wasn't happy when they moved him on. Actually, he came out, didn't he? But yeah, Mateus Pereira is one to watch. But again, in terms of, can Charlie Austin do it? Do you know, can Hal Robson-Kanu do it in the Premier League? I'm not too sure, and there'd be one of my picks that probably will be for the drop if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Are you going for a Leicester win then on the opening?
Yeah, 2-0 like Keith. Yeah.
Okay, Harry, how big is it for Leicester to get off to a good start? Because look, I've mocked them. I've been very upset over them since they done what they done at the back end of last season. But being serious, you know, we've seen sides suffer from hangovers from one season into the next, and a good one to point at is Brendan Rodgers. 2014-15 at Liverpool, he ends the season with a 6-1 defeat away to Stoke, and he's sacked within about 8 games, I think, of the next season. It just doesn't go away from him. How big is it for Leicester here, Harry, that they got off to a decent start and nearly put the end of last season out of their mind very quickly?
Yeah, massive, because there is that whole Brendan Rodgers smell of, you know, bottling it, that smell of failure that seems to creep in Brendan Rodgers' jobs after a certain amount of time. I've never been a massive fan of his. He's another one that I'm not too keen on. I think he's probably a little bit overrated. I feel like Leicester, obviously they were punching above their weight in the first place last season. So, you know, you could argue that actually their finish was still very respectable, and it probably was on the surface. But being in the position that they were in, being as comfortable as they were, then, you know, for them to fall apart the way they did is some implosion. And you're right, it needs to be rectified straight away, because if we get 7-8 games into the season and that is still the rhetoric about Leicester City, and the narrative still is very much that Brendan Rodgers is bottling it again, Brendan Rodgers is finished again, then you could see, you know, Leicester pull the trigger on him. And you know, it just goes to show, doesn't it? Because there is a decent group of players there at Leicester City. They're a decent sized club. They're a club with owners who are definitely willing to invest, definitely willing to put the club at the heart of everything they do. And so, yeah, I mean, they deserve better than what they've seen in the last few months. And if he doesn't turn it around at the beginning of this season, then there will definitely be pressure on Brendan Rodgers, no doubt about it.
Do you see them getting off to a winning start here?
Yeah, I do. But again, similarly to you guys, it's because I don't particularly rate West Bromwich Albion, rather than I think that Leicester are going to be that good. Look, they've got Jamie Vardy in their side as well, which is always gives you a chance. His goal record last year was phenomenal, and unfortunately for him, because of the way Leicester ended the season, he didn't probably get as much credit as he should have. So, yeah, I think they'll get off to a winning start. But like I said, I think that's probably more down to the fact that I think it's going to take West Brom a bit of time to adjust and adapt.
Okay. I'm going to go for a draw on this one. I would have fancied West Brom in a full stadium. I think promoted sides playing at home on the opening day, place to be rocking, and they can come up and stuff can happen. When you look at, it wasn't the opening day, but when you look at Norwich at home to Man City early in the season last year, and City were expected to wipe the floor with them, and I think they beat them 3-2. You know, anything can happen in a full stadium when especially when promoted sides come up. You know, there's that little bit of extra zip in everybody's step, and you know, when they come up off this behind closed doors things, it will kill some momentum for lesser sides or promoted sides. So I think I'm going to go for a draw on that one. Before we move on to a couple of fixtures, our Predictor Ace competition for the season, 50 questions, 1 winner. Entrance has closed for that. Keith has been busy making a list. I think we've about 50 entrants. Have we? 50, 60
Checking
entrants?
it twice.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. A lot of people weren't brave enough to put their predictions in, which is shame on you, you know. Yeah. But how many have we got, Keith?
Well, we've 42. No, we've about 46.
Okay.
But, yeah, I have a list of names here, so I have them listed out. Do you know, I'm just going to make sure no one else came in.
Okay. Well, what we're going to do is, the way this works, Harry and Joe are looking going, what the fuck is going on here? So this is what's going on. Basically, what we done was we didn't come up, one of our listeners come up with 50 questions for the season, and you had to make a prediction beside each 50. Email them into us, and what we'll do is we're going to gather as many prizes as we can between now and the end of the season, and the winner gets all the prizes. There's no second place, there's no third place, there's no, you know, best new, you know, up and coming person, nothing along them lines. It's just 50 questions, 1 winner, and all prizes will go to them. So what we done was, the Kopite Podcast brought out a brilliant 2019-20 magazine. It was released in limited numbers, and they gave us the very last one. It arrived at my house the other day. I opened it and immediately thought, what the fuck are you giving this away for? It's brilliant, but I have to give it away because I promised it. So what we're going to do is, Keith has listed all the entrants on this Predictor Ace, and instead of holding this magazine till the end of the season, it's quite time sensitive. You want to read it now while it's fresh in your memory. So we're just going to give it away tonight to kick us off in that competition. We will have an update on this competition every Friday as to, you know, there's certain questions in there that could be done after the first week, so we'll update you as we go. So, Joe, I want you to give me a number between 1 and 46.
43.
143, sorry.
Yeah, because I'm not including ourselves in this for the prize.
Yeah, so. Obviously, yeah.
My birthday, the 9th, so number 9.
Number 9.
Right. Yeah. Number 9 is Koyen Pen Players.
Okay.
The name doesn't ring a bell, but it's Kyen PENPRASE. There's the list of names and numbers for anyone that thinks we might be scamming, but it's Koyan Pen Praise.
Cool. Well, we have his email address, so we can get on to him. He wins the magazine from the Kopite. If you're not following the Kopite podcast, go and follow them. Their content is great, and that magazine is seriously
looks quality. Yeah,
it's absolutely outstanding. So he is the winner of the first prize. But from here on in, every prize we gather goes to the winner at the end. Every single one. So you could end up with, I don't know, it's going to cost us a fortune to post it to you. That's all I know. But whatever comes in, we will absolutely, you know, give you the lot. And next week we will have a full list of the people who have given us prizes. We'll have links in the description for those people, so you can contact them, or if you want to look at their merchandise and stuff like that. And of course, we give them a shout out for donating a prize, because we will have a full list from next Friday. Moving on, West Ham v Newcastle. I really couldn't care less about this fixture, you know, to be honest with you. But the one thing I would say is, and Harry, I'll come to you first, Newcastle look like they're trying to throw a few quid around. Mike actually must have bumped his head, did he?
Yeah, it's been such a weird time for Newcastle, hasn't it? They were, you know, a few months ago they were looking at Kylian Mbappe and Gonzalo Higuain, and now they're signing Callum Wilson. That's no, you know, it's no disrespect to Callum Wilson or Ryan Fraser on a free transfer. They're decent signings for Newcastle United, but there's always going to be this kind of, Steve Bruce is of that ilk of manager where people are just going to poke fun at them, and that's always going to happen. And you know that the Newcastle fans weren't exactly thrilled when he came in. You know, yes, they look as though they're going to spend a bit of money this summer. They're going to try and improve the squad, but I'm sure if you speak to a lot of Newcastle fans, they'll still say to you that they're not particularly convinced by Steve Bruce and what he will do with that side. Yes, that Mike Ashley has probably had the realization that actually, whilst this takeover bid has failed, he actually needs to keep the club at a certain level if he wants to drum up more interest, and maybe that's why. And interestingly, actually, if you look at what Mike Ashley spent during the time Rafa Benitez was there compared to after, there's a stark contrast. He spent a lot of money since Benitez has gone, and that tells you all you need to know about the quality of manager that he has now, because he felt that Benitez could get by and keep them in a division with very limited funds, whereas he looks at Steve Bruce and he thinks, yeah, I need to back this guy, because if I don't, we could be in trouble.
Yeah, we absolutely could. Joe, when you look at these two clubs again, I'm going to throw this sort of thing at you. You know, you look at West Ham, and I was saying to you like that, you know, the likes of West Ham panicked very early in the season last season, you know, over would they go down, and they were literally talking about going out of business if they went down, because they've so much riding on staying in the Premier League. And then you look at Newcastle, who look like they've tried to improve with some decent signings, but they always seem to end up in this sort of quagmire where they just can't seem to get their footing, and they end up getting into trouble and eventually getting out of it. Is that two sides that Leeds have to target as well, and say, listen, if we can stay above those two, we'd be absolutely fine? Because again, with the way Leeds play, the way they look to play, the manager they have, he's streets ahead of the two managers of those two clubs. I would expect Leeds to come up, and they might have a rocky period, because regardless of how big they are, they're a newly promoted side, and they have to get back into the way of playing in the Premier League. But I think Leeds should be looking above Newcastle and West Ham this season.
Yeah, I don't listen. I'm in danger of coming across arrogant and overconfident and stuff. I don't. When we're streets ahead, I genuinely believe, like you say, you know, you've just got to look at the money, like Steve Bruce, etc. I think, you know, it was funny. I know I'm jumping ahead a bit here, but when Brighton refused to sell us Ben White, and they made the point of saying we're not going to sell him to a direct rival. We're not direct rivals. We're going to be way above and beyond the likes of Brighton, Newcastle, West Ham. I look at Newcastle and West Ham, and my prediction, I put Newcastle 18th. I think they might struggle. I'm not quite sure that. I mean, I don't mind Ryan Fraser, but I'm not really sure Callum Wilson is the answer. And Steve Bruce, and like I said, I live close to the northeast. I work with a lot of Newcastle fans, and you're right, you bang on there. They're never happy, you know what I mean? So until Mike Ashley goes, I don't think they ever will be.
I think, to be honest, I think Fraser, I think Callum Wilson's a really good signing for them, because of the way, when I watched Newcastle last season, they you know, they had isn't it Almiron who couldn't hear the barn door, then went through a bit of form.
Joe
And they were relying on Joe Linton a lot. Whereas I think what he needed was someone like Callum Winton, who's direct, strong, just shoots when he feels like it, you know. And whereas Joe Linton was trying to be a little bit finessey when he didn't need to be. Is finessey a word? It is now, but but I think Callum Wilson might be a really good player for them. We'll have to wait and see, and again, we'll have to see if either of these teams start badly, will they react? Because, you know, I think Harry's point of, you know, Newcastle having to keep themselves at a certain level, if they ever want to be A, stay in the league, and B, have a takeover bid come in again, they need to stay at that level. And of course, West Ham just seem to be, if we go down, the whole ship just sinks. So we'll have to wait and see. Lads, I get quick predictions on this one. Keith, I'll go with you first.
2-2.
2-2, nice. Harry?
1-0.
Oh, draw. Joe?
I was going to go 1-1 as well, to be fair.
Okay, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw on this one. So 4 draws. Get your money on a home or away win, lads. After those 4 Egypts are at telling you draws. Listen, I'm going. Palace and Southampton doesn't interest me whatsoever. So I'm going to leave it for the moment. But the one I want to touch on before we get on to the big two, as we call them, for this show, and it's Brighton and Chelsea, and you know, Chelsea have made a massive splash in this transfer window. They're signing anything that moves at the moment. I think they're signing a goalkeeper to replace their world record goalkeeper. Joe, I'll come to you first. When you look at what they're doing, do you see shades of Mourinho going back to 15, 16 years ago? Or do you think they're trying to just take advantage of this relaxed financial situation and FFP, and just trying to load their squad now before, you know, I suppose the shackles go back on? What way do you see this with Chelsea?
I think Abramovich has just opened up the purse strings again, hasn't he? You know what I mean? He realised that the gulf is just getting bigger and bigger, and thought, do you know what? I need to spend some cash, splash some cash. I don't think they've got the right man in charge. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of Lampard, and I think the pressure will be on Frank early doors if they don't start getting results, and quick for me, because they've spent so much money. And don't get me wrong, the players that they've brought in are absolutely quality. But sometimes just bringing in individuals doesn't make you a team. Do you know what I mean? So we'll have to wait and see how it pans out for Frank. But I hope it goes tits up for him, if I'm being totally honest.
That's good, man. I like that. I like that sort of optimism.
Harry, as a supporter of a club from London, watching another club from London spend money like it's going out of fashion, I think it shows the holes that were in Chelsea's squad. You know, I don't think they're signing a lot of players, but they're signing players that they need, in fairness to them. You know, a left back, a couple of attacking options. I think Thiago Silva is a brilliant signing for them at centre back, I'm being honest with you, because they need a leader in there, because the other centre halves they have, while they have decent attributes, there's not a leader among them. So, you know, I think that's a good move, but it could go either way, Harry, this, couldn't it?
Yeah, it really, really could. You know, they're signing a lot of quality, particularly in the forward areas. You're gonna see a real potent attacking threat from this Chelsea side. I fully expect that. I am also not. It's not that I particularly dislike Frank Lampard as a manager, but I've still got questions over him, and that's because he's so new to the game. You know, he was at Derby County. He got Derby County into the playoffs. He wasn't the first one. He won't be the last one that gets that club into the playoffs. So he didn't do anything amazingly spectacular there. Comes in at Chelsea, got into the top 4, but you've got to put the caveat to that Arsenal were well off the boil, Tottenham were well off the boil. Both clubs had to sack their managers mid-season. Manchester United had a really bad period as well. So I feel like things had kind of had fallen into place a little bit for Frank Lampard, and add to that they had that transfer ban and there was absolutely zero pressure on him to do anything. But now that Abramovich has got the checkbook out again, and now he seems interested in Chelsea again, now he's going to want returns on that money. And Frank Lampard's going to have a difficult task. Firstly, gelling all these players together. You know, when you make such a huge number of signings, you know, in a short space of time, it does have its challenges. So I think that Chelsea on paper have an excellent squad, and I expect them to be in the top 4. There's no doubt about that for me. But I just worry about Frank Lampard and how he's going to cope with that. Let's see how he gets on, and whether or not he is a top level manager like some people think he is.
Well, can I just say as well, you know, on that, like he took Derby backwards. Yeah, they finished lower than they had done the season before, and he brought in big money loan signings like Harry Wilson, Mason Mount, Tomori. He had a lot of luxury. Chelsea, he took them backwards. Do you know what I mean? They got to 2 finals, lost them both, conceded more than Brighton. I just don't get the Frank Lampard loving, but obviously I have an ulterior motive as well because I don't like the man.
Well, when you see the thing with Frank Lampard is the narrative that was brought with Frank Lampard was that, you know, he was brought in and, you know, he was bringing through youth at Chelsea and he was doing this and the other. To be honest with you, he was bringing through youth at Chelsea because he'd no other option. And when one option became 2 or 3 options, option 1 has disappeared. You know, there's talk of Tomori going on loan to Everton. I don't know what sort of game time Mason Mount is going to get now, and also I don't know what Tammy Abraham's going to get now. So that option and that excuse is gone for Frank Lampard now. You know, they've a fabulous young player in the middle of midfield that was brilliant against Liverpool in the FA Cup, if I remember Billy. What was his name?
Gilmore.
Yeah, Billy Gilmore. Fabulous young player.
Never be seen again.
I don't think he will, no. Because not because of his ability, but I think people, what people have said here is the pressure is on now, and Abramovich doesn't throw that sort of money around unless he gets returns. This is the man that got rid of Ancelotti, who I think had one of the best Premier League teams you've ever seen in 2009-10 with Chelsea. I think it was 2009-10 with Chelsea. You know, he's got rid of big managers, you know, and he hasn't thought twice about it. He's just done it. Frank Lampard is a Chelsea legend and all that, but that means nothing. Absolutely nothing. You know, Liverpool got rid of Kenny Dalglish the second time around, you know, and Kenny Dalglish walks around and literally is Mr. Liverpool, and you got rid. So he will want returns, but I'm a bit torn on this. I think it could go great and they could just throw off the shackles and go for it, or they could look disjointed and teams could pick them apart. While they look great going forward, they could be just destroyed because they're not cohesive enough, and it's very hard to put that amount of players into a side on 2 weeks training, let's be honest. So it's one of those. But opening day of the season, Keith, they're away to Brighton, who under Graham Potter look like they're going to continue trying to play a certain style of football. They brought in Adam Lallana, they've brought in another couple of players. But what
brought in Joe Veltman to the centre of the defence from Ajax, and that's a good signing for them. Yeah, the way I would see this one going, it's a weird one because I'll be interested to see the team Lampard picks. Will he try and pull a lot of these new signings straight? Well, apparently
Thiago Silva is doubtful. Chilwell that won't play. There's 3 or 4 of them that you sign won't.
I think is
out. So there's a couple there that won't actually appear on the first day of the season. But listen, that's what squads are for.
I actually think this one will be a 1-1 draw.
Okay.
I think this will be a draw. I love a draw.
Yeah, the splinters everywhere on this fence are sitting on. Harry, what are you going for on Chelsea?
I'm going to go for a Chelsea win. I just think they're going to have too much quality. But, you know, Brighton have shown in the past that they can take scalps as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if Brighton pulled something out of the bag. But I'm going with my head here, and I feel like Chelsea are probably just going to have a little bit too much quality.
Okay. And Joe, the man you hate the most, Frank Lampard, how do you think he does on the opening day of the season?
No, joking aside, I think Chelsea will have too much for Brighton, to be fair. 2-0, I think.
Okay. I'm going to go with 4-1 Chelsea. I think it's going to be one of those where, do you remember they got hopped off by United on the first day of the season? I think it was last season.
Yeah.
And everyone proclaimed Manchester United as the favourites for the Premier League, and then it all went tits up. I think I might do something like that with Chelsea this season. I still think they'll make top 4, but I think there's too much change there. And I agree. I don't think Lampard's the man to knit them together. Now, having said that, if you gave Klopp that sort of outlay that squad, I think he'd do better than Lampard, and Bielsa the same. And probably Arteta. In fairness, Arteta is really impressive. But we'll have to wait and see. It's the opening day of the season. Anything can happen. Right, let's get on to it. Harry, I need Arsenal to win. I'm going to tell you that, because if I'm my last man standing after game one, I'd be very, very upset. So, Fulham v Arsenal. Fulham have come up through the playoffs, didn't they?
Yeah.
They come up through the playoffs, and I know they have Mitrovic up front. After that, I don't know what sort of business they've done. I would make them one of the favourites to go down, though, because I haven't heard that much. They mightn't be doing that much. And Arsenal in transition, as we've said with Arteta, are looking on an upward curve for me, in both the way they're playing football and the attitude that they're doing it with. So, what way are we going opening day of the season here, Harry? Fill me with confidence.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for an Arsenal win. I feel like when you've got sort of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang in your side, the likes of Alex Lacazette, Nicolas Pepe, the young Bukayo Saka can come off of the bench. There's just so much attacking talent in that Arsenal side that I feel like Fulham won't be able to keep a clean sheet. I feel like we'll have too much for them to keep us quiet for the entire 90 minutes. And I've also got an added confidence in this Arsenal side to defend well. And that is something that Mikel Arteta has brought to the table. Now, granted, we've got a few injury problems. David Luiz, I know a lot of people poke fun at David Luiz, but he's become so important to this Arsenal side, particularly since we switched to a back three. He's the man in the middle. He's the organiser. Yes, we've got a couple of new centre-halves in Saliba and Gabriel, but they're both young. Neither has played a Premier League game before, and so it would have been nice to have David Luiz in there alongside one of them to marshal him through the game. But that's not going to be the case. I think that the reason we kept Rob Holding and didn't allow him to go out on loan is because of this injury to David Luiz. So I think our back three is going to be a little bit iffy tomorrow, and that's the one area in the Arsenal team I'm a little bit worried about.
Okay, it's interesting you mentioned Luis and the back three, because under Conte at Chelsea, I think they played a back three and Luis was in there when they won the league. And it was very interesting that they let him play football and let the other two defend, and it seemed to work for them. Luis is a madman. I'll never take that back. I think he's a madman. I think if you play him in a back four, it's just absolute circus time.
Yeah.
And get the popcorn out, because anything can fucking happen. But in a back three, when you let him nearly be a spare man and let him play football, I think he's a better central defensive midfielder. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. But I think I like the look of Arsenal, because Arteta's doing his thing. And he's not trying to do the Arsenal thing. He's doing his thing. And he's getting Arsenal away from this supposed Arsenal way, which hasn't been there for 15 or 16 years. And I just get so annoyed by Arsenal. I can't talk about them for too long, because I get so upset over them. And I don't even support them. They just really...
I wouldn't say 15 or 16 years. That's a bit harsh.
No, I wouldn't. I genuinely would. I genuinely would. And I believe Arsene Wenger was in the Arsenal job for about 8 years too long as well.
He was there too long. I think 8 years is harsh, though. I think when he won that, he went those 9 years without a trophy, and then he won 2 FA Cups in 3 seasons. When he won that second FA Cup, when they beat Chelsea, who were the league champions at the time, at Wembley, that should have been when Arsene Wenger said, "Thank you very much, I'll go out on a high." I agree with you that he stayed on too long, but 15, 16 years, I think, is a little bit harsh.
No, what I mean by that is between 2002 and 2004, Arsenal played a style of football that made them stand out from everybody else. Okay, and it was brilliant. Don't get me wrong; they were brilliant in 2002. They were brilliant in 2004. They made a European Cup final in 2006, and were unlucky because didn't they have a man sent off against Barcelona in the Parc des Princes? Right. What I'm saying is, Arsenal's way of playing football ended after that. Right, that style ended, and they kept looking for this style and calling it the Arsenal way, and that's what held them back. What I like about Arteta is he's coming in and he's playing his way. He's putting his stamp on it. And Arsene Wenger went stale, and the other fella that took over, what was his name? Emery came in telling you he was going to do a certain thing, and kept trying to revert back to what he felt Arsenal fans wanted to see, and that's why I'm saying, over the last 16 years, since that's the style of play Arsenal had. They stood out, and they were trying to look for this for years and years and years instead of going with the people they had and their attributes, and that's why I held them. I get so Harry, we should do this in private because I get so upset over Arsenal because and I don't support them. I have no affiliation to them, but when I watch them and I think the players they've had and they've tried to do something or hold on to something, and I'm saying that as a Liverpool fan, you know, all this pass and move and stuff like that, Liverpool tried to do that and they hadn't got the players to do it, you know, so that's where I come from with Arsenal. But I think with Arteta, it's fresh ideas, it's his ideas, he's targeting the players he wants and needs, and he's doing it very, very well. I've very high hopes for Arsenal and Arteta. I'm sure he's delighted to hear that as well.
He's a listener, I heard.
I heard he's a listener. I don't know if he's subscribed though, the cheeky little get. Keith, Arsenal, Fulham, or Fulham, Arsenal, whatever way you want to look at it. Is this a perfect start for Arsenal?
I have this in my head. Harry might contradict me and tell me I'm wrong, but Arsenal always lash Fulham over. I think it's always an easy game for Arsenal. For some reason, it's in my head. I see Arsenal winning.
Didn't Aaron Ramsey score one of the most amazing goals in the Premier League away to Fulham a couple of years? Was it Aaron Ramsey?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, after that wonderful move. Yeah, really good team goal. But even that game, we kind of, the first half was very tight. It was very difficult. Fulham made it really hard for us, and then we just blew them away in the second half.
Yeah, no, I think that's the way this one might go. Go on, Keith.
Yeah, no, I'd see 4-1 to Arsenal on this one. I agree the defence might be... Louise, I laughed and scoffed when Harry was talking about David Luiz, but I do know what he means, like that when you put him in a back three and you have players around him that can cover, maybe, you know, he steps out a bit and he's not getting exposed. He doesn't look as bad. And he is a leader in his own way, you know, but it'll be interesting to see who lines up there. What will the back three be, Harry? Will it be Socrates? Will it be Holding?
No, this is the problem. Socrates is out as well. He's out with a calf problem. Now, we don't know if he's actually out or if it's because he's going out the door, that he's not in the side. Interestingly as well, we've heard tonight that Emiliano Martinez has been withdrawn from the squad as well, because it looks like he's on his way out as well.
That's a strange one.
It is, but you know, if Arsenal can raise 20-odd million from him, which is the price that's being quoted, and that is the difference between Arsenal affording a Houssem Aouar or a Thomas Partey, then you do it, don't you? I think it's the right,
100%.
It's the right thing to do. But yeah, the back three, I would predict that it's probably going to be Rob Holding. I think William Saliba will probably get the nod out of the two new centre-halves, just because he's been with the club that little bit longer. He's been training with the team that little bit longer. And then I think Kieran Tierney will play at left centre-back. So he's done a decent job there. In an ideal world, we want him back in the left wing-back position. But, you know, at the moment, we've got Pablo Mari out, left-footed centre-back. Gabriel might not quite be ready. He's a left-footed centre-back. And then you've got Mustafi's out as well. So, you know, I mean, people have been banging on all summer about Arsenal having too many centre-halves. But only Arsenal could have that many centre-halves and struggle to field three going into the first game of the season.
That's true.
That's true. Roof has asked a question, and I'm going to answer it now. How do you get Across the Park podcast? Just go onto your podcast, listen to whatever the app is, and you will get all their episodes there. I think if you just go to acrosstheparkpodcast.com, you will find it all on their website as well. But I know they're on Instagram and stuff. I don't even know the lads. I just listen to the podcast, and I think it's great when you see Everton Liverpool fans together talking about the two clubs. It can get fiery, and it's a good laugh as well. So it's one to watch out for. I'll have to send them an invoice for all this fucking stuff I'm saying about it. Joe, when you look at this again, another promoted side, what's your prediction on this one?
I think Arsenal run away with it. I think Scotty Parker's inept, really, if I'm being totally honest. I think the experience of the players got them over the line. Brentford deserved to go up, but that inexperience Brentford showed in that final. But, I mean, what have they got? Cavallero, Knockaert, Mitrovic. They're all like championship level players for me. And Michael Hector's decent at centre-back. Harrison Reed, who they've brought in from Southampton, played well last season. But, again, they've just not got enough. I think they've brought in the keeper from PSG as well, haven't they? Is it Areola?
Areola.
But, I don't think they'll have enough. I think it'll be like 3-4-0 Arsenal.
Yeah. Okay. Harry, did you give me a prediction?
I went for an Arsenal win. If I have to give you a score,
You do.
I'm going to go with the famous old 1-0 to the Arsenal.
Ah, will you stop?
Okay, no, it's more than that. Keith, what are you having?
4-1 Arsenal.
I'm going for 3-1, so when I pass that bookies tomorrow, I will go in and put that on.
Yeah.
Right. Loads of predictions in, loads of people in the chat. If you're in the chat, please hit like, please hit subscribe, please hit the bell icon, and you won't miss another show. We have the season packed out with everything you need, Liverpool and Premier League related, as the season goes on. Last but not least, Liverpool v Leeds, the current champions against the big boys coming up from the Championship. And I'm going to let Joe go last, right? Because I'll let him have a good listen to what you're going to say. But Harry, I'll come to you. And listen, when you're champions, you're there to be shot at. You know, we've seen it with United, we've seen it with Arsenal, we've seen it with Chelsea, Man City. You know, we've seen it with any club that's won the league. You're there to be shot at, and Liverpool are there to be shot at. What do you make of the media, though, at the moment, that as soon as you're asked for, I suppose, well, how do you think next season will go? People just can't wait to get out of their seat and shout that Liverpool will struggle next season. Is that something you go along with, or is it just a case of, I don't know, people suffering with amnesia, or it's just a case of lads, Liverpool aren't playing FIFA and using the cheat codes for the transfer window, so they're going to struggle? What do you make of this?
I think the media's sort of, and I've realised this since I've been working in the industry over this last year or so, the narrative is very much, let's bring down those who are at the top. That is what sells, isn't it? It's watching people's demise. That's what people love to see, and it's a shame because Liverpool have been really, really good for a number of seasons now. Obviously, they had the season where they narrowly missed out on the title. They went one better last season. Obviously, there was the Champions League win and all of that as well. The final even the year before. So Liverpool have been performing at a very, very high level for quite a while now. And so I think it's disrespectful to sit here and say that they're going to fall off the wagon. They're not going to be as good. They're going to struggle. Listen, my personal prediction is that Liverpool won't win the Premier League again. But that is, you know, that is based on other reasons. It's not me sitting here just sort of looking to have a go at Liverpool, because I think that's unfair. I feel like Liverpool's transfer window this season or this current transfer window is going to be key, not because I feel like they need a complete overhaul or they need a ton of players, but more so because they need to freshen it up, in my opinion. When you look at that great Man United side under Sir Alex Ferguson that kept winning title after title after title, every time he got the opportunity, he went out and he brought in, you know, one top player just to freshen things up, change things up. You know, if you guys get Thiago, I think that could be that player, the player that just gives you that little bit of a boost, adds a bit of extra quality in midfield. But obviously the circumstances at the moment are very, very different. COVID has had an impact on all of our football clubs, whether we like to admit it or not. You guys will know as Liverpool fans that I think you've been a bit reluctant on certain deals. The Werner deal was a prime example of Liverpool sort of getting cold feet because of the financial landscape. So, I don't know. Look, I don't think it's fair to say that Liverpool are definitely not going to win the title. I think it's going to be very close between them and Manchester City for me next season. And yeah, I don't get why everybody's so quick to have a go at them.
Keith, as before I got on to Joe, and he's going to give us an in-depth talk about Leeds and who to watch out for and stuff like that. When you look at this, like, people, it seems to be that because Liverpool haven't bought 3 or 4 players that, you know, have their name up in lights, people just think, well, Liverpool won't be as good and you can't do this and you can't do that. Now, I think there is a certain argument to that, because it's the hunger there. You know, you'll always question that. And a lot of people question Man City's hunger last season, you know, after winning the title the season before, back-to-back. You know, they seem to fall at every hurdle that was put in front of them, and people question their hunger. But is it for you a case of people over-egging Liverpool's transfer window? Because in the current climate that we're in, I think Liverpool, regardless, would have been looking for players to bolster the squad rather than come in. And now, I'm a big fan of bringing in players that absolutely push our first 11 to the limit, if not take a spot off one of them. But is it a case of, you know, it would have been difficult for Liverpool anyway to pick the players that can come in and be happy with, you know, listen, you'll play 50% of the games. Like, you know, imagine Kai Havertz. Like, Kai Havertz isn't turning up at Liverpool for 50% of the games. Kai Havertz is turning up to be Chelsea's main man. So, is it being over-egged a little bit, or is there an argument there to say, well, look, they were so far ahead last season, but you're asking them to all go again, and these clubs are signing and putting fresh impetus into their squad, so that'll narrow the gap, I suppose?
It's a hard one because everybody is assuming Liverpool can't go again, and they're basing that on if you get an injury, or as some clown said the other day, if Liverpool get 4 or 5 injuries, they can't
Michael
cope.
Richards.
Michael Richards, I couldn't think of who it was. I mean, if any team gets 4 or 5 injuries, depending on who the player is, they can't cope. I mean, we missed Alisson for about 12 games last season, all in through injury, you know, and we still won the league. We've missed Joe Matip for months of the season, when he was at the time our best centre back, even ahead of Van Dijk. We missed Fabinho. We had Keita breaking down on the regular as well. So we did miss players. Any team will so far, you know, Man City lost Laporte, and it was the biggest collapse for them. One player, you know, people are basing this on Liverpool losing players. Now, if Liverpool don't lose players, that squad is good enough to win the league again, in my opinion, right? In my opinion, they've fixed the gap at left full that they brought in Tsimikas as a replacement for Robertson, which means we don't have to play James Milner there, or we don't have to play Nico Williams, or we don't have to play Joe Gomez, right? So we put a left-footed player over that side. That's a big fill in our squad. If we don't do anything now, if we don't get any injuries, I think we can go again and really push it. But I think we're going to sign. Go ahead, jump in there, Harry.
The reason I don't think that Liverpool are as well equipped perhaps as Manchester City next year, maybe, and this is just an opinion, is because I look at Manchester City, for example, and I look around their team, and you know, we know that they've got defensive issues, but we also know that they've got so much talent in the forward areas. If it's not De Bruyne, then it's Bernardo Silva. If it's not Bernardo Silva, it's Sterling, it's Mahrez. If Aguero's not around, it's Gabriel Jesus. If Phil Foden's coming through now as well. They've got so much talent that they're not reliant on. No player in that Manchester City team is so important that they can't replace him. When I look at Liverpool, as good as that squad is, if Virgil van Dijk was to pick up an injury, I don't think Liverpool would be anywhere near as effective. That's my opinion. I don't get filled with immense confidence when I look at Joe Gomez. Joel Matip is always liable to break down. You know, I just worry that Liverpool are one injury away at this moment in time from being significantly weakened. That's just kind of one of the angles I look at it. And it's not me having a go, it's just that's how I see it.
So what you're not looking at the hunger of this team, you're not looking at the quality of this team, you're looking at, and like I know where, like I think it was Michael Richards that said, oh, if they get 5 or 6 injuries, like, well, yeah, obviously, you know, it's a very obvious statement to say. You can just insert any team into that. But what you're saying is that the Liverpool's reliance on their top players is much heavier than Man City's reliance on their top players.
Yeah, what I'm saying is Manchester City's game is to go and blow people off the park, right? Liverpool, yeah, they have that, and they're very explosive and they're very effective going forward. But their success in the last couple of seasons, in my opinion, because under Klopp, I think they've always been really good going forward. I think what the difference has been Van Dijk. It's been Van Dijk and Alisson making that difference to the back line and bringing them up a level in that department. And Manchester City's game is to go and attack people, and they've got tons of options to do that. If Virgil van Dijk, though, is missing, I feel like the reliance on him is so strong that could significantly damage them. And look at City. We talk about the season before last, 98 points. The next season, they went off the side of a cliff, you know, because of an injury, arguably, to Laporte. So that is proof that can happen, and it can really screw up a team. And I just worry about that for Liverpool.
But the other argument there is that, okay, Laporte did get injured, and you know, that is proof that it can happen. But they had all these riches up the other end of the pitch, and they didn't show up either.
Yeah.
You know, so you could argue that the hunger went out with City. How did he get it back? You know, so it's one of those. Don't get me wrong. I think I think Liverpool will win the title. I do, because I think the squad they have and the togetherness they have, I believe come the 6th of October when the transfer window closes, I think Liverpool will even be stronger than they were last season. So for me, I still make Liverpool favourites for the league. I don't know how City are favourites, because I've never seen Ferran Torres and Nathan Ake turn up at a club and make them Premier League favourites.
Yeah.
I've never seen it happen before. I think it's been over-egged a little bit, but we'll have to wait and see. I take your point on the Virgil van Dijk stuff. I think that's why a centre-half is critical for Liverpool, and the one they pick is critical if they are to go and do something in this window. But listen, Liverpool, away from Liverpool for a moment, because I want to give Leeds their moment. And Joe, what should we look at from Leeds this season overall? Who are the players that are going to come in and you feel are going to be really, really good in the Premier League? Is there any surprise packages in there? And finish it off with your prediction for the game tomorrow evening.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think there's no amazing individuals in this Leeds United side, if I'm being totally honest. It's about Bielsa and the tactics, where, you know, it's more about the sum of its parts. It's the jobs that the lads do, you know. In terms of pressing, we're up there with the likes of City, if you compare the stats from last season, you know. We'll go for the full 90 minutes. You know, I'm just so excited to see Bielsa in the Premiership. I think we're better suited to the Premier League than we are the Championship. The fewer games, the fact that we're not going to face teams that will put 11 men behind the ball, because that's what happened last season. We'd be down at Kenilworth Road and you would have 11 players inside the box and we'd struggle to break them down, you know, and Patrick Bamford couldn't hit a barn door during that period. Do you know what I mean? So I think the fact that teams are going to come and attack us, it's going to leave space for us on the counter as well. So I'm really excited, and I think we will pull off a few scalps. There'll be times when we could play you tomorrow, have a good game and get battered 4-0. I've already said to the followers of my channel, listen, we might even get it for 6 in some, genuinely. However, we will pull off more scalps than we will get hit. And the teams down the lower end, like we spoke about, the likes of Palace, West Ham, Newcastle, Brighton, etc., not worried. Not worried at all. And I think we'll be totally fine. If we didn't have Bielsa with his squad of players, I genuinely would be worried. All right, but with Bielsa, I know we'll be totally fine. And the individuals that we have brought in, Koch in at centre-backs, a German international, over 100 Bundesliga appearances. So, yes, we missed out on Ben White, but I think if anything, it's probably we paid 30 million for him as opposed to like 35 that we might have had to pay for Ben White. You know, Rodrigo Moreno is no slouch. You know, he's Spain's number 9, you know. And we've got him on a cut price deal because of what's going on at Valencia. We're linked with Rodrigo de Paul over in Udinese. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if that one happens. The thing ahead of tomorrow is Bielsa, much like Klopp, he won't throw players straight in. They need to have time within the squad to be up with Bielsa's methods, and I just don't see him throwing in Koch at centre-back, which means we might then move Ayling in there. We'll put Dallas, and we're moving players around. And against Liverpool, it's not ideal. In terms of the one player to watch out for, is Calvin Phillips. He's England international. I absolutely love the guy. Obviously, he's Leeds through and through as well. It will be interesting to see how he does against Bobby Firmino tomorrow, for example, when Bobby Firmino's dropping deep, you know, and he's got the likes of Cater, etc., in front of him. It will be interesting to see how he does, but I think the sky's the limit for KP, so he'd be my main man to watch out for. He is the one
I'm going to watch.
Yeah, he's a good player, honestly.
And what's your prediction?
I think it's going to be a score draw.
Okay.
Score draw.
Yeah, you need to give me numbers, Joe.
2-all.
2-all. Okay. 2-all. We're not letting Harry away. I think Arsenal will win, lads. No, you have to. You give us numbers, and we just keep asking for numbers until we get it.
Boys, do you think? Sorry, just ask. Do you think Trent will play? Will Trent go in? Will Hendo play?
No,
Trent will play.
I think won't. I don't think Henderson will play. I think he only started training at the end. He wanted some minutes against Blackpool, and Klopp didn't give it to him. And Klopp was quite diplomatic on it. He said, look, he wanted to play, but with 10 minutes benefit, and we're not too sure. I don't think Henderson will start the game. I think Trent will. I think Trent could have went to Austria with him and didn't stay behind for the small bit of treatment. Was training as normal. played. Of course, he was away with England as well, didn't he? So he'd a good 100 minutes or so, I think, for England. No, he'd a full game for England. He was on the bench for the other. I think he might come on as a sub. I think Liverpool will be looking at Alisson. They'll be looking at Robertson, Van Dijk, Gomez, Trent. I think you'll end up with Fabinho, probably Keita, Wijnaldum, and then you'll end up with the three lads up front. Well, maybe Milner, but
I think Milner for Wijnaldum, yeah, but I agree with the rest.
And then the three lads up front. It'd be fairly strong from Liverpool, I think, and they'd be looking to get off to a flyer. 2-2 from Joe. Harry, what way are you going?
I am going to go with a 2-1 Liverpool win.
Okay, no worries.
I thought Harry was saying 8-2 there.
Yeah, I was going to go fuck that. Even if Liverpool win an 8-2, I can't take that on the opening day. Liverpool are used to roller coasters, but don't start us off like that. Keith, what are you going with?
I just want to echo nearly everything that Joe said there. Leeds have a good team there. I don't think they'll throw them all in on the first day. I don't agree with his score prediction. I think Liverpool will win 3-0, and I don't mean that to sound disrespectful to Leeds, because I think Leeds, I agree with what you said. I think they're going to be a serious team, and I think they're going to take a lot of scalps this year. But I think Liverpool on the opening day under Klopp have scored 3 goals, at least 3 goals in every opening day under Klopp. The fact it's at Anfield, I think helps them. If it was at Ellen Road, it might have been different, but I think we will win. But I do agree, I think Leeds are going to be a serious team. I cannot speak highly enough of Bielsa. After Klopp, he's my favourite manager.
You want him to be your dad, don't you?
I do. I want him in as a director of football at Liverpool.
Yeah. Could you imagine bringing Bielsa down now into the south side of Dublin city centre and asking, does he want some cabbage water? It'd be absolutely
sitting
amazing.
Him on a bucket and just watching the football. The man is a genius. I can't speak highly enough of him, but I do think Liverpool will win it comfortably enough.
Listen, if he has lads sitting in bushes spying on Frank Lampard, I'm all for it. Forget what else he's done in football. If he's doing that sort of shit, it's only good for football. For me, last season I wanted to see what Leicester could do, because I thought they were a young side. I thought, they had great energy. I wanted to see what Rodgers could do, and I was they were the team that I kind of wanted to watch the most last season, apart from Liverpool, and then they went and done what they done, and now I hate them. But it's probably Leeds this season for me. It's because of how big a club they are. But it's interesting, if Leeds come up, how do I put this? If Leeds come up as a Luton town, right, with Bielsa and those players, you go, Bielsa, yeah, I'm not too sure, but it's Leeds. It's a different kettle of fish altogether. It's a huge club coming up with a very charismatic manager, and he's going out. He is going to go out and play his game. Now, it may catch him on certain days where they try press the better sides and they might eat them alive, but if there's one thing Bielsa is good, he's good at adapting. There's no doubt about it. You've seen his managerial career. He can adapt. He is cute. He's extremely tactically aware. So he's not. I don't see him coming out and going, listen, lads, we're Leeds. Remember them videos last season where there was 11 of us chasing one fella because we wanted the ball back? That's not going to happen at Anfield tomorrow evening. I can see him sitting back. To a certain extent, and I can see him trying to hit Liverpool on the break and trying to pen Liverpool in a little bit when they get up the pitch. But when all said and done, Leeds are playing Liverpool, who are one of the best sides in Europe easily. The way they press, the way they can counter a press, the pass, score, they're elite in what they do. But it's a very interesting open day to the season. I think I was at the open day of the season last season against Norwich, and the first 15-20 minutes Liverpool weren't great, I'm going to be honest. Norwich were quite good, and Alisson had to make a couple of saves and stuff like that. But then when Liverpool got into a groove, they just tore them asunder. For me, and people are laughing now, I can see 3-1 to Liverpool. But I think Leeds will come out of it with a hell of a lot of credit. And what I mean by that is, I think they'll surprise people by the way they play and how well they do it. Yeah. It's going to be one of those. So I'm going to go with 3-1 to Liverpool. But I do wish Leeds all the luck this season, because I was sick of Reading and Wigan and all these fucking teams. Whereas at least you know now, when Man City go away and they're not going away to this shite, that you go, they're away to Leeds, Eddie. That'll be a bit of crack, So it's one of those. Lads, it's been an excellent show. I could have went on for 2 hours and 19 minutes, never mind 1 hour and 19 minutes, talking about Arsenal and Leeds, Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, Everton. Of course, United and City get the week off because they've been rewarded because of their failure at the end of last season, which is amazing. It's amazing what you can get when you fail. But and they'll be back for game week 2. Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure. Where can people find you on social media? Of course, you and your channel.
Yeah, so it's at All Leeds TV on YouTube, social media, Instagram, and myself at Wainman Joe _ Leeds TV. Thank you so much for having me on, guys, and good luck for tomorrow. Honestly, it's been class.
No problem at all, and we will get in contact with you for the reverse fixture. And if we can do something with you for the reverse fixture on your show, by all means, give us a shout. We're always open. And listen, this is an open forum, and if we can ever help anyone out, regardless of whether that's a Liverpool, Arsenal, Leeds podcast, whatever it is, we will absolutely help out. And we don't even charge people. It's deadly, you know. We're just cheap. We're a cheap, very cheap date. Keith especially.
Yeah.
Harry, where can we find you? Where can we find your podcast?
Podcast is called The Chronicles of a Gooner. You can find it on YouTube and all the audio platforms. You can find me on 90 Min, TalkSport. Going to be on The Squad on BBC Radio 5 Live next Sunday as well. So you can find me there as well. Yeah. Cheers.
Good stuff. Harry is going to try to be a regular on this show every Friday when he is available. If he's not, we let him away with it. What are we going to do? We're not going to sack him. It hasn't got that far yet. But listen, it's been an excellent show. Thanks a million for watching the debut of the Friday forecast. This will be with you every single Friday. And of course, the chat has been amazing. There's been between 300 and 400 people in there all night. The comments have been great. The knowledge in there is brilliant. Even when you're talking about all these different clubs, the majority I know of these people in the chat are Liverpool fans, but the knowledge they have of other clubs is quite astounding, to be honest with you, when you actually read through the stuff. What have we got coming up? Instagram. Tomorrow, Instagram, the game kicks off at 5:30, so about 4:45, we're going to go live on Instagram. If you want to come on and talk to us, get on there. Request to come on the video. We let people in and out for a minute or two at a time for about 15 minutes to discuss the lineup and what your predictions may be. And then the game is due to be over at about 7:15. So we'll try come on about 7:30 for 15 minutes to get reaction. Again, come on, request to come on, and I'll bring you on and you can have a chat for a couple of minutes. And we try to get as many people in over 15 minutes. That's just a way of letting you interact more with us, because you're excellent on the YouTube channel, you're excellent on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So just get your interaction. It's very important. That has been the Friday forecast. We will see you tomorrow on Instagram. We will see you Sunday for the Fatback 4 podcast. I wish Harry and Arsenal all the best for the season. I wish Joe and Leeds all the best for the season, but I wish the Reds all of the luck after that, because that's just the way it works, lads. I'm sorry. That has been it. Have a good one. Enjoy the game. Enjoy all your Premier League football this weekend. Over and out.